Blake Lively is starring in a new romance film, It Ends With Us, and she's on the press tour for it right now. But the rumors are flying about major drama that occurred during the creative process. And allegedly, Blake Lively has just hijacked the promo for It Ends With Us in order to promote herself, in order for Ryan Reynolds to promote Deadpool and Wolverine, actually. And allegedly, the both of them took over the creative process to the point where they drained it of its original meaning. Yeah. And the director's name is Justin Baldoni. He was also her co-star and love interest in the movie.
I mentioned this because Olivia made me watch Jane the Virgin, and he is he is the lead actor in that movie. And
how did you like his performance?
Here's the thing: as an actor, he's married to an actress named Emily Foxler, who's also a performer. So I knew of him before that. But he's done like TED Talks and all this stuff about redefining masculinity and all this other. He's annoying.
Yeah, so we can see why Justin Baldoni would be motivated to direct a movie like this.
It's literally a show where girl says something, guy argues, they go their separate ways, guy comes back later and says, I was wrong. And, it's literally that
so
show.
we know who we're dealing with.
I'm being very uncharitable in that, but it feels that way a lot of times when you're watching it because it's not a show for guys, so I'm just rolling my eyes all the time. I'm like, no woman would be attracted to this, but...
Well, what's confusing about the promo for It Ends With Us is that everyone thinks it's a rom-com, but that's totally not what it is. No. And I have not read the book it's based on. It's based on a novel by Colleen Hoover, who is the biggest book talk fiction writer on grocery store shelves. But basically, this is a romance novel telling the story of Lily Bloom, a woman who has a traumatic childhood marked by her father's abuse toward her mother. She navigates her way to success, opening her own florist shop. Yes, her name is Lily Bloom, and she has a florist shop.
That's convenient.
Okay. She meets Ryle Kincaid, a charming and successful neurosurgeon, and they begin a romantic relationship. And she falls in love with Ryle Kincaid. She starts to see parallels between his behavior and that of her abusive father. And despite her initial hesitation, she tries to make the relationship work, but ultimately realizes that she must prioritize her own well-being and safety. So the story culminates with Lily finding the courage to break free from the cycle of abuse and create a better future for herself and her daughter. That's the story, but it's being marketed as a run-of-the-mill rom-com right now, and people are blaming Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for that.
The coke-fueled Hollywood executives are like, ugh, like, nobody's coming to see this depressing shit. Like, put a few laughs in there, guys.
I mean, genuinely, that's a good point, though, because like people don't really want to go to the theaters to see that dark story about like domestic abuse.
I said
they want to see a rom-com.
I was like, look. Like rom-coms, like some girls will bring their boyfriends or their husbands to the movie with them. The guy will begrudgingly go, or you go with a bunch of the girls like everyone did for Barbie, right? Now, no girl's gonna she's not gonna get the crew together to go watch a movie about domestic violence. Nobody's like, hey, you wanna go get some popcorn and some soda and go watch this movie where this dude beats the crap out of this chick? Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, I understand that she probably understands how to market a movie better than Justin Baldoni does. But this person said Justin Baldoni had the best intentions to bring advocacy to domestic violence, but unfortunately picked the most pick-me girl to ever exist to produce that film. Blake Lively is a producer on it. And she allowed her husband to bulldoze the PR and the writing. And they actually wrote scenes for the movie together and inserted them into it because Blake Lively is one of the producers.
I feel like this would have done really, really well on streaming as a movie or a show.
You're so right. Yeah, like I could see that on Netflix. That context.
Like, isn't it kind of just like Grey's Anatomy or any of this other stuff that they talk about?
But Colleen Hoover has a huge fan base, so I understand why they would think it's marketable enough to bring it to theaters.
That makes sense, especially when bringing book IP to film is more common, right? Well, like there was the whole thing about when they made Anyone But You, they wanted that for streaming, and both Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell were like, this is gonna do better. We'll do better in a theater because it'll get lost on streaming. And in a theater, like, can actually make a mark.
Type of movie that you guys would review or no?
I wasn't planning on seeing it,
but now,
I don't know if it was wise though, just to try to And I will say Ryan Reynolds, for the most part, has been a marketing genius. Like, he is very good at marketing. Like, he alone has made Deadpool with his marketing. However, you don't want people to feel like they were tricked or duped because they're not going to trust you anymore.
And this is a big thing for movies like this, is how the trailer is cut does a lot of damage if it's nothing like the movie that you go and see.
I watched the trailer. I had no idea there was anything about abuse or trauma.
Well, and here's my thing. Here is the thing though with women, as I was talking about earlier. I've noticed how many women are interested in Joker 2. Why is that? Women are fascinated by toxic relationships. Like, they are. So I think there is a market there. And if it has a massive following from the book, why not? Those people know what it's about. So just go with it.
Because DC went out of their way, at least in Suicide Squad, to limit the storyline between Harley Quinn and Joker about the toxic relationship.
But if they had focused more on it would have been a lot more popular.
Which is the great hook for that story, right? Yeah. Like, it's different as far as comic book medium goes. It's not necessarily brand new, but it's something that on the big screen it hadn't really been done in that way.
Right.
But they just chickened out. They didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. They cut down Jared Leto's screen time in that movie to like 10 minutes.
I'm sorry, but
they did.
I know. This is just my opinion. I just don't think a lot of neurosurgeons and florists look like this. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
No. I think if that's like, it's kind of like that meme where it's like when if your lawyer shows up looking like this and he's got the oversized pants and it says if your lawyer looks like this, you're going to jail.
I mean, I don't think a lot of florists and neurosurgeons date anyway, but maybe that's just my take. Justin Baldoni is using this press tour to talk about all of the advocacy issues, which is kind of lame, not gonna lie.
But you knew that given all the TED Talks he's done and the fact that he started that was going to be
He's a good male feminist and he cares about advocating for women. So that's what he's using the press tour to do, but nobody is associating with him. He's doing all of his interviews alone. And even in this interview they did with one of the actresses, she's asked about what it was like to work with him. She totally sidesteps the question. Do we have that video? It was Jenny Slate. They asked her, what's it like to work with Justin on this movie?
This one? Is it this one?
Yeah,
one?
that.
Okay, here we go.
Talk to me, what was that like, having him be director but also scene partner?
I mean, what an intense job. Like to have to do so many things. I just found myself being like, wow, I really just want to have one job at once. Like and in fact, I've often felt that way. Like, I really like writing and I like it so much. And it's special to be able to be a writer.
She's literally looking at her publicist off screen. She's like,
help. The media training is hitting different.
Looking around just being like, I'm good with just acting. I love it. I just want to do it.
Okay.
I feel like
I just want to do it. She's like, I'm not going to answer this question.
So something happened, evidently. And now I've been seeing like Blake Lively is getting a ton of hateful comments, not just over this movie and the drama surrounding that, but also her cover on Vogue with Hugh Jackman, who is a close friend of her and Ryan Reynolds. Mm-hmm. They're saying that she should be canceled for getting married on a plantation.
That is one of the most terminally online takes you will ever see in the entire world. They said there's infinite threads of people being mad at her and Ryan Reynolds because they got married at a plantation house.
Yeah, did you know that? Oh no, I didn't know that.
It's Ryan Reynolds' fault for apologizing for this years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that is as cucked as it gets. I'm sorry.
They said Blake Lively got married on a plantation and is currently promoting a movie that romanticizes domestic abuse, which source material was written by a woman who tried to hide her son's SA allegations. I don't know anything about that with Colleen Hoover, but her and Ryan Reynolds apparently got really tight with Colleen Hoover throughout the making of the film, and then they got to make a bunch of decisions and bulldoze Justin Baldoni's angle for the movie.
They thought about all of the books they're going to option later and get first crack at.
But they're better at business. Yep. That's just the way of the world. That's showbiz, baby.
So mean girl Blake Lively just took over this dude's movie.
Another one said, Blake Lively hasn't gagged me since I found out she got married on a plantation. For the love of God, get that woman off my timeline. Something about Blake Lively doesn't sit right with me.
That was my favorite. It's the most feminine. It's the most female take I've ever seen. It's like, I don't know. I just
Blake
never
Lively
liked
gives me the ick.
I've just never liked him.
Gives me the ick. Another one said, I think Blake is fine, but she's not all the words this person is making her out to be. Movie star? Are you sure you don't mean white and blonde? As if being white and blonde will get you celebrated in Hollywood in this day and age.
Yeah,
That's
right.
insane. They're basically saying that she's being celebrated for her mediocrity and her whiteness. Which is crazy.
She was in that
seems a
Lonely
little
Island.
harsh.
She was in that Lonely Island video. I just had sex with Akon.
Some of the comments are
she really?
sympathizing with Justin Baldoni. They're saying this right here, Justin is the main one speaking about the severity and importance of the movie. His interviews are truly discussing the film instead of whatever the others are doing. I agree with this take. I was thinking Justin Baldoni was mad about Blake doing so much promo for Deadpool right before this movie, and then mad that Ryan Reynolds turned this basically into an extended Deadpool promo.
I mean, am I wrong in thinking like I don't think Ryan Reynolds needs your little movie to promote Deadpool, which is
he doesn't need your little movie.
which is about to hit $1 billion in like 3 weeks.
It's gonna do well. He's fine.
Like
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's not doing that, but I'm just saying like that sounds a little paranoid to me.
I can't tell like which is the right way to market the movie. Do you market it as like Blake Lively in a fun rom-com, or do you market it as what it is?
I think you be honest, and
Yeah.
the people that are interested in that, to be honest, like that premise is interesting to me, but I mean, it's a weakness, but I'm drawn to heavier stuff sometimes. Like people want small, like I'm like, no, I want to go there and, and it might be really interesting, but I think people need to know what they're signing up for.
There'll be a lot angrier
Yes.
if they go there and it's not what they were expecting it to
Totally,
be.
and that's fair.
Word of mouth is worse than.
Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to bring like their teenage daughters to the movie and like giving their kids the book because it has this like cute floral cover and it's at Target. So how could it possibly be inappropriate for children?
She's a florist named Bloom. How bad could it be?
I don't know, man.
Her life sounds dreamy.
Yeah. Well,
They're not doing their research and they're getting kind of hoodwinked when they go into the theater.
I just don't think this movie has the mass appeal it needs to really have legs at the box office. Maybe if you're honest and you promote it that way, but it would have to be really, really good.
But
it would have to be very, very good to to be people like, look, we know it's heavy, but just go and see it. We think you'll like it.
Yeah, and maybe just take that approach. Yeah, and,
I mean,
and
that
be
worked with
honest
Sound of
about
Freedom.
it.
Yep.
Because the truth is,
That's true.
like people, they don't generally like movies like what it sounds like it actually is, which is, but they should have the option of knowing.
I just don't like the whole thing about like raising awareness for issues. Like, make the movie. If it happens to raise awareness for a certain issue, that's great, I
Right.
guess. But like,
You can just
you're
feel
supposed
them-
to entertain me first.
They need rotator cuff surgery from patting themselves on the back.
That's what's suspicious to me is Justin Baldoni seems like a self-important male feminist who is patting himself on the back for being such a great like advocate for women's rights and interests, and it's like, now I immediately think that you're dangerous. Now I can't trust you. Because that's
But if just to play the devil's advocate a little bit, but then what would you think of Jim Caviezel bringing so much awareness to sex trafficking?
Well, I think that's totally different because he's not framing himself as a male feminist. He's framing himself as caring about an issue that actually isn't talked about enough. And it's not in a way that's going to get people to celebrate him. It's about getting people to talk about the issue.
Yes, yeah, he definitely did a good job at that.
So I do think that he had like I think that came from the right place. When it's a man in Hollywood making his entire personality about like advocating for women, I think that might be overcompensating for something. That's my immediate instinct. That's just me.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.